Ronan Vale's boots hit the rocky ground with a crunch just as the cliff trembled beneath him. A deafening roar ripped through the morning air, echoing across the valley below. Dust and shards of stone tumbled from the cliffside, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop. Something massive had fallen, and it was alive. Ronan's heart slammed against his ribs. Without thinking, he sprinted toward the source of the noise. Smoke and dust swirled, stinging his eyes, and the metallic tang of something strange filled the air. Through the haze he saw it, a giant creature pale as moonlight, trapped under a fallen spire of rock. Its wings were folded awkwardly, twisted, and one massive limb was pinned beneath jagged stone. It was a dragon, but unlike anything Ronan had ever seen. Its scales shimmered white, almost translucent, and faint veins glowed beneath its skin. Eyes the color of molten silver stared at him, wide with pain and fear. The creature let out a low, shuddering cry that shook Ronan to his core. He didn't hesitate. Dropping his tool bag, he ran up to the creature, scanning quickly for safe spots. One wrong move and both of them could be crushed by shifting rocks. Using every ounce of strength, he shoved and pried at the boulders. His hands scraped and bled, but he ignored it, focusing on freeing the dragon's pinned wing. The dragon flinched, letting out a sharp, almost human-like cry. Its tail lashed, knocking a smaller stone loose, sending it tumbling toward the edge of the cliff. Ronan dove, catching it just in time. Every second mattered. Every sound, the creaking rock, the dragon's groans, the wind whipping over the cliffs, made him tense. Finally, with one last push, the rock shifted enough for the dragon to pull its limb free. It collapsed on the ground, heavy and trembling, its chest heaving. Ronan took a step back, catching his breath, and for a heartbeat, he wondered if it would strike him. The dragon's gaze, though fearful, seemed to linger on him, not with aggression but something deeper, almost like recognition. Then the cliff groaned again. A new tremor, stronger this time, shook the ground beneath them. Loose stones clattered down the slope. Ronan froze for a split second, calculating. There wasn't time to run, the dragon couldn't move. He grabbed the creature's tail, holding it as it struggled, and together they rolled away from a sudden cascade of rock. Dust clouded their vision. The roar of falling stone was deafening. When the dust settled, the dragon was still, panting, trembling, but alive. Ronan wiped sweat and blood from his brow, examining the damage. Its wings were mangled, muscles torn, and a thin line of red traced down one pale limb. He pressed a hand to its side. The dragon flinched but didn't pull away. There was trust forming in that brief, tense moment, and Ronan's chest tightened with a mix of relief and awe. "This isn't over," he muttered, mostly to himself. "We're getting you out of here." As he spoke, a strange shimmer ran across the dragon's scales, like liquid light pooling beneath its skin. Ronan's eyes widened. He had seen strange tech and even stranger creatures in the outskirts of human colonies, but this was different. Its body pulsed faintly with energy, reacting to his voice, or maybe his touch. He crouched closer, curiosity and fear twisting in his gut. Suddenly, a sharp crack split the air. A smaller boulder, unseen, toppled from above. Ronan dove instinctively, slamming his shoulder into the dragon's side to shield it. The rock bounced harmlessly off the creature's glowing wing. Ronan's heart pounded in his ears. He rolled, keeping the dragon between him and the cliff face. For a moment, everything froze, the two of them, the cliff, the pulsing light of the dragon, and then the ground trembled again. The dragon's eyes met his, wide and shining. There was intelligence there. Recognition. Something unspoken. And for the first time, Ronan realized that this wasn't just an accident. The creature had come here for a reason. Something about its presence, its strange glow, the way it had survived the fall, it all felt deliberate, almost urgent. Ronan stood slowly, brushing dust from his arms. He knew he couldn't leave it here. The cliff was unstable, the creature injured, and whatever had drawn it here wasn't done. He gave the dragon a firm, reassuring pat. "Hold on. I've got you." As he prepared to move the dragon, a sudden gust of wind swept over the cliff, carrying a faint, eerie hum. The dragon's body pulsed again, stronger this time. Its wings twitched and a low vibration filled the air. Ronan's stomach sank. Something was happening, something he didn't understand. And whatever it wasn't finished. He tightened his grip, glancing up the slope where rocks still threatened to fall. One wrong step and they could both die. Yet he couldn't turn back. Not now. Not when the creature's life, and something far larger than he could imagine, hung in the balance. And then, just as he began to plan their escape down the jagged cliffs, a sudden flash of white light erupted from the dragon's wings, brighter than the sun reflecting off snow. Ronan blinked, shielding his eyes. The dragon lifted its head, staring at him with a gaze that seemed to pierce right through him. It was ready, but for what Ronan didn't know. Ronan carried the dragon carefully, its massive body heavier than anything he'd ever lifted. Each step on the jagged rocks sent jolts through his arms, and every slip could be fatal. Behind him, the cliff continued to tremble and small stones rained down like hail. The dragon's eyes tracked every movement, shimmering with a strange intelligence, and occasionally it let out soft, low sounds that Ronan didn't understand. He guessed they were expressions of pain, or maybe gratitude. Finally, he reached a narrow ledge where he could rest and set the dragon down. Its breathing was ragged, shallow, and every twitch of its mangled wings made Ronan's stomach knot. He pulled out his toolkit, scanning the damage. The wings were twisted, the joints crushed, and the membranes between the bones were torn. This wasn't something he could fix with duct tape or simple wiring. It would take ingenuity, and a lot of courage. Ronan's mind raced. He remembered the fragments of alien tech he had salvaged from old wreckage in the valley, a mix of metals and energy conduits that humans had only begun to understand. It was risky, but if he could combine that tech with his mechanical know-how, he might create something that could support the dragon's wings enough to move them. Enough to let it survive until it healed. As he worked, the dragon flinched with every touch, muscles twitching involuntarily. He whispered softly, trying to calm it, though he wasn't sure it understood. "I've got you. I'll fix this." The dragon's glow pulsed faintly, like it was responding. Ronan noticed the veins along its wings shimmered in rhythm with his voice. Something about its energy, it wasn't just alive, it was reactive. Alive in ways he had never seen. Hours passed. Sweat stung his eyes, cuts on his hands burned, but he continued assembling the exoskeleton. It was crude at first, just a rigid frame to hold the wings steady, with mechanical hinges to mimic movement. He used strips of the alien alloy for flexibility and strength, fastening them carefully. Every piece he attached caused the dragon to shiver, but slowly, it began to respond. A twitch here, a tiny lift there, proof that his work was making a difference. But progress brought danger. The cliff above groaned ominously, and Ronan glanced up to see a pack of scavengers approaching, large lizard-like predators, drawn by the dragon's glow. Their eyes reflected hunger, and they moved silently, calculating. Ronan's heart raced. He couldn't fight them off entirely, he was exhausted and the dragon couldn't move to defend itself. Thinking quickly, he grabbed debris, rocks, and broken metal pieces, arranging traps and obstacles around them. When the first predator lunged, Ronan triggered a trap that sent a heavy rock tumbling. The predator yelped, scattering the others momentarily. He used the distraction to adjust the exoskeleton's final hinge, aligning it precisely to give the dragon better support. The dragon flinched under the sudden movements but twitched its wing intentionally for the first time, pressing it against the exoskeleton. Ronan froze in awe. A small, incredible victory, but the predators weren't gone, and the cliff was still unstable. He realized that every move he made had to be calculated or both of them could die. Then came the pulse. A soft vibration rolled through the dragon's body, radiating outward in a rhythmic hum. Ronan's tools sparked and flickered. He stumbled back, surprised, watching the veins along the dragon's wings glow brighter. The energy wasn't harmful, it was alive, responsive. But he had no idea how strong it could be or what it might do next. For a moment, Ronan considered retreating. The situation was impossible. A paralyzed dragon, predatory scavengers, and a cliff that could collapse at any second. But then the dragon shifted its massive head, its silver eyes locking with his. The look wasn't fear, it was something like hope. Something that whispered, "We can survive this together." Adrenaline surged through him. He ignored the throbbing pain in his arms and hands, refocused on the exoskeleton. He tightened a final brace along the dragon's wing. Slowly, carefully, he guided the wing through its first full arc using the mechanical support. The dragon groaned, its glowing veins pulsing faster. The movement was small, awkward, but it was movement. Proof that his work was starting to pay off. Ronan allowed himself a brief, triumphant smile, but the cliff's edge gave a sudden crack. Dust and pebbles tumbled down, reminding him that danger was constant. He had made progress, but survival was far from guaranteed. The scavengers were circling closer now, their glowing eyes reflecting the dragon's strange light. He grabbed the dragon's tail, steadying it as the creatures hesitated. The dragon pulsed again, this time stronger, a faint vibration running through the ledge. Ronan realized something shocking. The energy in the dragon wasn't just reactive to him, it could repel threats. A predator lunged and a sudden flash of the dragon's inner glow startled it, sending the pack scattering back down the cliff. Ronan exhaled slowly, heart hammering. They had survived another attack, and the dragon had responded in a way he couldn't explain. It was a small victory, but it hinted at something much greater: power, intelligence, maybe even a hidden potential waiting to be unlocked. He looked at the dragon's pale, trembling wings, now supported by the crude exoskeleton, and whispered, "We're not done yet. Not by a long shot." Then the ground shook again, stronger this time. A low, resonating rumble rolled through the cliff, and Ronan's eyes widened. Something massive was moving above them. Whatever it was not human, and it was heading straight toward them. Night had fallen, and the valley below was a shadowy blur under a silver moon. Ronan sat beside the dragon, exhausted, watching its pale chest rise and fall. The exoskeleton he had built held the wings steady, but the creature's paralysis was stubborn. He ran his hands along the support braces, listening to the soft, almost musical hum of the dragon's veins pulsing beneath its skin. That hum had grown stronger since yesterday, reacting to his touch in ways he couldn't explain. Curiosity gnawed at him. He leaned closer, pressing a hand gently against the dragon's wing. Instantly, the pulse intensified, a warm vibration flowing through his arm and into his chest. Ronan froze, realizing that the dragon's energy wasn't just alive, it was intelligent. It responded to him. Could feel him. He experimented cautiously, moving his fingers along the wing's frame, guiding it through small motions. The dragon twitched deliberately, lifting the wing just a fraction, then lowering it. His eyes widened. It wasn't random movement. It was learning, listening, and following his lead. A sudden sound shattered the quiet. A low growl echoed from outside the makeshift workshop, and Ronan's head snapped toward the noise. Shadows shifted in the moonlight, revealing a pack of predators returning, larger this time, more confident. Their scales glinted, their teeth caught the faint glow of the dragon's veins. Ronan's stomach twisted. He had no weapons, only his wits, and a dragon that could barely move. Thinking fast, he grabbed a heavy metal rod and set up makeshift tripwires with scraps of cable. When the predators lunged, a trap he barely hoped would work sent one sprawling, sliding down the slope. The rest hesitated, snarling and circling. Ronan felt his chest tighten, but he ignored fear. He turned back to the dragon and whispered, "Now." He pressed his hands along the dragon's glowing veins, focusing on the rhythm he had felt before. Slowly, the dragon's wing lifted, higher this time, the muscles responding in tandem with the exoskeleton. A tremor ran through the air, low and resonant, and the predators hissed, retreating slightly as if something unseen had warned them away. Ronan's eyes widened. This energy could defend them. It wasn't just reactive, it was powerful. The dragon twitched again, then lifted both wings simultaneously, its body quivering with effort. The exoskeleton strained under the weight, but it held. A small breeze lifted from the cliff, and the dragon managed a weak, uneven hop forward, its claws scraping against the rock. Ronan's heart leapt. They were making progress. A tiny victory, but enough to give hope. Then came the real shock. The dragon's glow flared unexpectedly, brighter than he had ever seen, and Ronan had to shield his eyes. The vibration ran through the cliff itself. Rocks tumbled, but the predators froze in place, terrified. The dragon was reacting to his touch, yes, but also to the danger around them. Intelligence. Awareness. Something beyond instinct. Ronan realized what this meant. He wasn't just helping the dragon heal. He was training it, unlocking a potential that even he couldn't fully comprehend. His mind raced. If it could control this energy even partially, it could fly. Could survive anything. But that also meant the stakes were higher. If he pushed too fast, too soon, it could injure itself, or worse, the predators might attack at the wrong moment. He forced himself to focus, guiding the wings through careful, precise motions. Each lift, each stretch, was met with a response. A stronger glow, a faint vibration that seemed to flow through the workshop itself. Ronan's hands ached, sweat dripped into his eyes, but he didn't stop. Every twitch, every pulse was a small step toward freedom. Suddenly the cliff shook violently. A low rumble ran beneath them. Ronan's stomach dropped. Rocks shifted above, threatening to fall. He grabbed the dragon's tail, steadying it, and shouted a warning to the unseen predators, "Back off." The dragon's glow flared again, and the ground vibrated under the force. One predator yelped and leapt back, thrown by the energy. The others hesitated, uncertain, and for the first time, Ronan felt the dragon's power could truly defend them. The micro cliffhanger came moments later. The dragon twitched violently, wings flaring wildly, its body glowing so brightly that the shadows of the cliffs disappeared. Ronan clung to the exoskeleton, trying to control the creature's movements. And then, just as he thought he had steadied it, the dragon let out a shrill, echoing cry and leapt forward, hovering for a fraction of a second in the air. Ronan's heart stopped. The impossible had begun. For one breathtaking instant the dragon was airborne. Then it crashed to the rocky ground, trembling and exhausted. He reached forward, brushing dirt from its scales. "You did it," he whispered, voice choked. "You're stronger than I imagined." But the moment of triumph was brief. A new, sharper vibration ran through the dragon, different from before. Its glow shifted in color, flickering unnaturally. Something was changing, something beyond Ronan's understanding. The dragon's eyes met his, wide and alert, and he realized they weren't just trusting him, they were trying to communicate. Something urgent. Before he could react, the ground shuddered again, harder this time, and a low, deep roar echoed from somewhere above the cliffs. Ronan froze, heart hammering. Whatever had drawn the dragon here was not finished. It was coming, and it was massive. He pressed a hand against the dragon's side, feeling the energy pulse stronger than ever. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're not done yet. Not by a long shot." And then, from the darkness above, a shadow moved. A shape far larger than any predator, wings spanning wider than the cliff itself. The dragon's glow brightened, reacting to the presence, and Ronan realized in a cold, thrilling shock. The next challenge would not just test their survival. It would test everything they had discovered about this creature, and himself. Lightning split the sky, casting jagged shadows across the cliffside. Rain lashed down, drenching Ronan and the dragon in cold, stinging sheets. The exoskeleton he had built groaned under the creature's weight as the wind tore across the ledge. Every step was perilous. One misstep and they could both plunge into the rocky abyss below. Yet Ronan refused to let fear take hold. He glanced at the dragon, its pale scales glowing faintly in the storm, veins pulsing with energy that seemed almost alive. "This is it," he muttered, gripping the support braces. "Time to fly, or we fall." The dragon shivered violently, wings twitching but not lifting. Ronan steadied his stance, his boots slipping slightly on wet stone. He climbed onto its back, pressing carefully against the exoskeleton to guide the creature's movements. The dragon's silver eyes met his, wide and uncertain, reflecting the storm's flickering lightning. A low, resonant vibration ran through its body, stronger than ever. Ronan realized the dragon was afraid, but he could feel determination building too, responding to his courage. He whispered encouragement, his voice barely audible above the storm. "You can do this. Trust me." Every word seemed to pulse into the dragon, synchronizing with its energy. Slowly, hesitantly, the wings lifted, flapping against the violent wind. Each beat was a battle, muscles straining, exoskeleton bending. Ronan's arms burned from holding his balance, but he didn't let go. One wrong move could kill them both. A sudden crack overhead snapped his attention. A massive stone dislodged from the cliff's peak, tumbling straight toward them. Instinctively, Ronan leaned forward, shielding the dragon with his body. The stone struck the exoskeleton, shaking it violently, and the dragon let out a shuddering cry. Ronan's heart pounded. If the wings failed now, the fall would be fatal. He pressed harder, guiding the flailing appendages, murmuring precise instructions through clenched teeth. Then the unthinkable happened. A bolt of lightning split the sky, striking the cliff just yards away. Ronan's body jolted from the energy in the air, muscles screaming in protest. The dragon's glow flared in reaction, veins igniting like molten silver beneath its skin. Ronan felt a shock ripple through him, not from the lightning but from the dragon itself. It was alive in a way he had never imagined, responding to danger with raw, uncontrolled power. The exoskeleton groaned under the strain, metal bending slightly, but the dragon lifted again, wings beating with increasing force. Ronan gritted his teeth, using every ounce of strength to stabilize them. The cliff edge loomed closer and he knew this was the final test. Either the dragon would take flight or both would tumble into the void. "Now come on," he shouted, leaning forward, pressing his hands against the glowing veins along the wings. The dragon's body trembled violently, then lifted, just a few inches at first, hovering above the jagged rocks. Ronan's chest tightened with relief, but the moment was fleeting. The wind tore at them, and the exoskeleton threatened to snap under the wet, heavy weight of the dragon's body. A deafening roar echoed through the storm. Ronan's eyes widened. Above them, the shadow he had glimpsed earlier in Part 3 emerged fully. A massive, darker dragon, wings spanning wider than the cliff itself, eyes blazing in the storm. Its presence was overwhelming, almost tangible. The albino dragon froze midair, wings twitching nervously. Ronan felt a pulse of fear, but he refused to surrender. "Trust yourself," he whispered urgently, pressing harder along the exoskeleton's frame. The albino dragon flared its wings, energy pulsing, responding to his determination. The massive predator circled above, clearly testing them, but the younger dragon had begun to fight its fear. It trembled, then pushed harder, wings slicing through the rain and wind. Lightning struck again, closer this time, and Ronan lost his footing for a moment. He grabbed the dragon's tail instinctively, holding on with all his strength. A violent gust threatened to throw them over the cliff, but the dragon's energy flared and the wings lifted higher. Slowly, carefully they rose. Inches became feet. Ronan felt his chest tighten as the cliff fell away beneath them. For the first time the dragon was flying, not hovering, not struggling, but truly soaring, guided by human courage and ingenuity. The storm raged, but for a brief, perfect moment they were free. Rain streamed past them, the wind whipped their hair and scales, and the world below became a blur. The dragon's glow pulsed brighter than ever, veins shimmering with energy Ronan could barely comprehend. His heart pounded, not just with relief but with awe. He had helped a creature overcome the impossible. Then came another shock. The massive predator above dived suddenly, wings slicing through the storm with terrifying speed. Ronan froze for a fraction of a second, fear tightening his chest. But the albino dragon responded instinctively, wings flaring, energy bursting outward in a radiant pulse. The predator halted mid-dive, flinching back, stunned by the sudden power. Ronan's eyes widened. The dragon wasn't just healing, it was awakening. As they leveled out above the cliffs, Ronan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Below, the rocks were slick and dangerous, the storm still raged. But above it all, the albino dragon had taken flight, fully alive, its body glowing like molten silver under the lightning. Ronan held tight, exhaustion and adrenaline coiling together, knowing this moment was only the beginning. And then, from the clouds above, more shadows flickered, large shapes, bigger than any dragon he had ever seen. Ronan's stomach tightened. The storm was not the only danger. Something far larger was coming, something that would challenge both him and the dragon in ways he could not yet imagine. Ronan pressed a hand against the dragon's neck. "We're not done yet," he whispered, eyes scanning the dark sky. "Not by a long shot." The albino dragon pulsed in response, wings flaring, energy coiling around them. They had conquered the impossible, yes, but the next challenge was waiting, and whatever it was, it would test courage, trust, and power beyond anything Ronan had faced before. The storm had passed, leaving the cliffs slick and dripping, but the sky was clearing. Moonlight glimmered across wet rocks, reflecting off the albino dragon's pale, glowing scales. Ronan leaned against it, exhaustion weighing on every muscle. His hands still tingled from the adrenaline of the storm, but a new calm had settled between them. The dragon's wings twitched slightly, testing their strength, and each lift was steadier than the last. Ronan breathed deeply, savoring the moment. They had survived impossible odds together. The cliff collapse, the predators, the storm, the massive shadow that had circled above. And now here they were. The dragon was alive, whole in a way he had not imagined possible, and it was beginning to trust him. He pressed a hand against its glowing veins, feeling the pulse of energy beneath the skin. The sensation was mesmerizing, almost alive. For a moment, he allowed himself to marvel at what they had achieved. A human, a mechanic with no weapons or armies, had saved a creature thought too damaged to survive. That in itself felt impossible. But there was no time to rest completely. Ronan scanned the cliffs, his mind racing. From the clouds above, he had glimpsed shadows, massive silhouettes, moving with intent. Whatever they were intelligent and they were close. The albino dragon's glow pulsed faster, almost as if it sensed the same danger. Ronan leaned closer, whispering to the dragon. "I don't know what's coming, but we'll face it together." The dragon's eyes, molten silver and filled with intelligence, locked onto his. The trust between them was undeniable. It was a bond forged through danger, fear, and shared struggle. He studied the wings carefully. With the exoskeleton now fully integrated, the dragon could flap with power, lift itself, hover, and glide across the cliffs. A small smile broke across Ronan's face. They had reached a milestone, proof that the impossible could become real with courage, ingenuity, and determination. Yet, as he admired the moment, a ripple of movement caught his eye. Across the valley, another creature emerged from the shadows. It was enormous, larger than the dragon beneath him, with wings like sails stretching against the night sky. More followed, their shapes flickering through the mist. They were unlike anything Ronan had ever seen, alien in design, sleek, with glowing markings that hinted at intelligence and purpose. The dragon stiffened beneath him. Its glow flared, energy rippling across its wings and body. He recognized them. It wasn't fear but awareness, a readiness to act. Ronan felt the pulse of the dragon beneath him, sensing something bigger, more dangerous approaching. The realization hit him. This was just the beginning. The dragon's injuries had been a test, a beginning of a journey that went far beyond survival. Ronan slowly stood, brushing mud and rain from his clothes. The dragon lowered itself slightly, resting its weight on the cliff, wings folding neatly. Its eyes stayed locked on the shapes moving above. He understood now, their connection had unlocked something more than flight. It had unlocked trust, a partnership, and a potential that could rival whatever was approaching. He reached into his bag, pulling out a small, crude communicator he had salvaged from a wreck. His hands shook slightly, but he activated it, sending a pulse signal into the valley. If others were nearby, they would see the light, the pattern, a warning or perhaps a call for help. The dragon pulsed in response, synchronizing with the device. Ronan's heart pounded. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a guide, a partner in awakening something far greater than either of them alone. For a long moment, they simply stood together, the human and the dragon, watching the horizon. The clouds parted slightly, revealing streaks of light from the rising sun. The valley below was quiet now, peaceful for the first time in what felt like an eternity. Ronan allowed himself to hope. They had survived. They had succeeded. Then, a sharp flicker of movement caught his eye once more. One of the larger shadows above changed direction suddenly, angling toward them. Ronan's stomach tightened. These weren't ordinary creatures. They were intelligent, purposeful, and curious about the dragon. Whatever they were planning, it was coming soon. The dragon's glow brightened instinctively, wings twitching in anticipation. Ronan swallowed hard. He could feel the excitement, the tension, the challenge building. He tightened his grip on the dragon's scales. "We've made it this far," he whispered, voice firm, "but the adventure isn't over." The dragon responded with a pulse of energy, veins flickering brighter than the moonlight. Ronan realized they were ready, not just to survive but to confront whatever came next. The valley, the cliffs, even the distant clouds, were no longer just a backdrop. They were the stage for something much bigger, something that demanded courage, intelligence, and trust, the very qualities that made humans remarkable. As the shadows moved closer, Ronan climbed higher along the cliff, signaling the dragon to rise. Its wings unfolded fully, glowing veins casting light across the jagged rocks. Together they lifted into the air, the wind carrying them upward. The massive silhouettes followed, circling, observing, and the sense of mystery deepened. Ronan's pulse raced, a mix of fear and exhilaration. He looked down at the valley below, the dragon beneath him, and then toward the sky above, where the unknown awaited. He knew that whatever was coming next would test everything they had learned, their courage, their connection, and their resilience. But for now they were free. The dragon had flown again, guided by human ingenuity, determination, and heart. And as the first rays of dawn broke over the cliffs, Ronan realized the truth. Humans could face the impossible, and sometimes even teach the impossible to fly. Above them, the shadows continued to gather, moving with purpose, hinting at secrets, challenges, and adventures yet to come. Ronan gritted his teeth, a spark of determination in his eyes. They had survived the storm. They had conquered the impossible. And the next chapter was already beginning. "We're ready," he whispered to the dragon. Its wings flared in response, glowing brighter than ever. "No matter what's coming, we face it together." And with that, they rose into the morning sky, a human and a dragon, flying toward the unknown, toward adventure, toward destiny.